Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my beautiful people, depending on where you're watching me from. If you're a repeating subscriber, a regular viewer, then welcome back. If you're new to my channel, then please subscribe to my channel by pressing on the subscribe button, like, share, and comment on my videos. Today the weather's so beautiful. Wow, so beautiful. I have to enjoy it. When the weather's like this in the UK, you just have to come out and enjoy the sun while it lasts. I'm at the park. Let me show you guys where I am. I'm at the park. People are here enjoying the sunlight. It's not always like this, so when the sun's out, I guess you have to make the use of it. It's giving me Kenyan vibes. It's almost like Kenya. It's really beautiful weather. So, as I was saying, today I'm at the park, having a walk and enjoying the weather. Today I was thinking about making a video to tell you guys of some few differences that I've noticed between the culture here and our African culture. Wow, look at this place. Very nice. Maybe I should have a seat here as I talk to you guys. Yeah, this is nice. Let me just see how the sun is. Yeah, oh nice. So I wanted to talk to you guys about some of you who might be thinking about moving from Africa to the UK. If you're planning on moving from Africa to the UK, I think there are some things that you'd really need to know before you hop on that plane. And today in this video, I want to talk to you about the general differences between the British and African cultures. And we are going to talk about the little and the big ways that life is completely different from what you're used to back at home. So let's dive in. I'd like to start by saying, talking about greetings, all right? You see, back at home, greeting people is a full-time job. You greet your neighbor, the shopkeeper, random strangers, and it's more out of habit. But here in the UK, if you say hello too many times, people start looking at you funny. Over here, minding your own business is the way of life. Sometimes you could be seated next to someone on a bus for even 2 hours and not even make eye contact, and that's very normal here in the UK. But in Africa, not greeting or at least acknowledging someone could be considered rude. You know, in Africa we are used to saying hello to strangers, you know, and just seated next to someone and not talking to them. I think in our culture it's kind of considered as rude. Something else I'd like to talk about is the food. You see, in Africa, food is life. During a birthday, food is offered. At a funeral, food is offered. If someone's graduating, food is offered. But in this country, if you go to a birthday party, you'd probably just be handed one slice of cake, a glass of juice, and that's all. You know, no chapatis, no goat meat, no nyama choma, just cake and some small idle chit chat. Oh, that's an ambulance. Someone has an emergency. The good thing is the ambulance services are very, very, very on point and very fast and reliable. No one's going to tell you to pay some money for fuel, you know, like sometimes they do in Africa. So I was talking about food. In this country, it's not just that food isn't offered in for occasions. It's also about the way their food is cooked, you know. Anyone from Africa or anywhere else who's used to vibrant, spicy food would find British food very plain, bland, and hardly any flavor to it, you know. And that's just the way the food here is. But they seem to enjoy it. Most of the food that you find here in the supermarkets are hugely frozen food. A lot of it is frozen food. Not so much of it is fresh, but even the ones that are fresh, you have to check them out because a lot of them are GMO foods. So it's not like back at home where in Africa you just go to your garden and you pluck something out of the house garden and cook. Something else I'd like to talk about that I've noticed is the family structure. You see, in Africa, the extended family is the center of everything. You know, your cousins, your uncles, your aunties, and even your grandparents. But here in the UK, everyone's kind of like minding their own business. Everyone seems busy, you know. Everyone's kind of reserved, including family. Life is very individualistic in the UK and I think in Europe in general. A lot of young people move out at the age of 18 and only visit their parents like twice a year. Maybe on Christmas, if they even remember, you know. Family isn't even really family because they prefer to call it partnership, you know. You'll commonly hear someone introducing someone else as their partner rather than introducing them as their husband or their wives. All right. Something else I'd like to mention is that people handle problems in this country differently. Okay. Back at home, if you have a problem, everybody in the neighborhood wants to help or advise you. All right. Even the ones who are not qualified, they want to have a share in the story, you know. By nature, everybody is in everybody's business in Africa, and that's just the way it is. But here, British people bottle things up. They'll be going through the worst time, but they'll still say, I'm fine, thank you, you know. They would rather see and pay to talk to a therapist than to talk to a friend or a family member, you know. In this country, I've had so many cases of people being found dead in their houses days later because people don't check on each other that much like back in Africa, you know. Everyone's locked up in their houses, everyone's locked up in their rooms, and people don't really socialize that much. Something else about this country is the humor, you know, the sense of humor. In Africa, jokes are loud, wild, and sometimes borderline insulting, you know. And everybody's used to it and everyone laughs, you know. But in Britain, jokes are very dry, witty, and they're sarcastic. Someone could roast you properly but say it so politely that it might pass and you'd actually think they're complimenting you and tell them thank you, you know. In this country, they'd say something like, that's an interesting outfit you're wearing. An interesting outfit, you see. And that would loosely translate to they hate the way you're dressed, you know. That's just the way they talk. Next, I'll talk about the sense of time, the way they keep time in this country. Oh, this is a nice shade. Guys, look at this tree. It's beautiful shade. It's beautiful shade to sit under. So, as I was saying about time, in this country, time is kind of taken seriously. Like back at home, I'm coming could mean any time between now and 2 hours probably. Whoa. Oh, guys are enjoying the sun. Yeah. As I was saying, back in Africa, the way we look at time is that time is more of a suggestion, right? At home, time is more of a suggestion, and that's the reason why we use African time. We refer to it as African time. But in the UK, if you say 2 p.m., people expect you there at 2 p.m. sharp. There's no African time here. If you arrive late, you'll find empty chairs, cold food, if at all there's even food in that event. And people generally don't wait. All right? In some places, back home, if you arrive late for work, you can just smile and say sorry, blame it on the traffic, you know, and that's just that. But here in this country, if you're late too many times, you're out, you know. It's simple. Jobs here are very strict, and they really value time, and people generally mind their business at work, you know, with very minimum supervision. It's not a big social thing like in some African offices where everybody's everywhere and there has to be a lot of supervision to keep people in check and make sure they're doing their work, you know. Something else I'd like to talk about here is that the way people have their parties, you know, the parties in this country are very different. In an African party, you'd find a minimum of like 100 people. You'd find loud music, you'd find dancing till morning, you'd find a DJ shouting random things in the microphone. But in a British party, everyone's just standing around, you know, drinks in hand, quiet music, some small awkward dancing in a corner, and then people are home by 11 p.m. sharp, you know. In Africa, who goes back home at 11? People would either stay there past midnight or even stay there until morning. And that's just the way African parties are, and it's very normal. Also in African parties, people just show up. Here, you kind of need to have an invitation to attend. You know, you don't just show up in someone's house. And even those who attend, you show up with a drink, you carry something. Africa, we just show up. First of all, you've not carried anything, you don't have a present, it's someone's birthday, you just show up, go eat, dance, have fun and leave. You know, and that's just very normal. Now, the next thing I'd like to talk about in this country is the cold and unpredictable weather. Right now, you might not notice because the sun's out and it's very beautiful today. It's sunny. You might not notice that it gets really cold, because if you look, you see the sun it's really shining. The sun's the sun's really bright and everything's out, and you would know that at times in this country it gets extremely cold. You know, the cold here, it's just something else. It's not like the light sweater kind of cold. It's the type that punches you in the chest when you open the door in the morning in winter. You know, you'll be wearing 3 layers of clothes, gloves, scarves, and still shaking like a leaf. Just, if you want to come to this country, you have to know and remember to pack a serious winter jacket, and not those light jackets we wear for fashion back at home. But ironically, sometimes it might just start raining for no reason. But then the moment you grab your umbrella, the sun comes out. You know, like even now the sun's out, and then from nowhere it might just start raining. You know, so sometimes when I first came to this country, I was confused. I'd go out, I don't know whether I should take my umbrella, I don't know whether I should take my jacket, because the weather, you'd assume that since it's summer, it's going to be like sunny all the time, but that's not true. Sometimes out of nowhere it just starts raining. You know, another thing I'll talk about is the British English and their accent, the way they talk. You know, you speak English, yeah, fine, but wait until you come here and hear someone from certain parts of the UK when they talk. You all right, mate? It's good, isn't it? You know, you'll be standing there pretending you understand everything, but deep down you're lost. You know, don't worry, your ears will adjust with time, but you just have to get used to a lot of excuse me's and pardon. You know, what did you say? Because sometimes the accent is heavy in certain parts, and you have to really pay attention to what they're saying. Another thing I'd like to talk about is the loneliness in this country. Honestly, no one prepares you for that part. They tell you about the good jobs, the nice roads, the money, but no one tells you that you might feel like a complete stranger every single day. You know, when you arrive here, you think, look, I'm going to make friends, I'll connect with people. But the truth is, people here move differently. Everybody minds their own business. People are polite, yes, but it doesn't usually go deep. It's just, hello, you alright? And they keep on moving, you know. You come home after work or school and your phone is just silent, no calls, no texts, you know. But back at home, even if you're not looking for anybody, people are looking for you. There's always family around, neighbors passing by, friends just showing up without even telling you. But here, you can stay inside for days and nobody even notices. Mm-hmm. And that loneliness, it hits different, especially when the weather is cold, dark, and you're missing home, the food, the music, and the noise and laughter, even the small arguments with your siblings. You miss everything, you know. You miss the things you never expected you'd miss. Now, sometimes you can get so lonely you start even questioning yourself, whether, is it me? Am I doing something wrong? You know, but no, it's just the difference in culture. People build friendships here slowly, and sometimes it feels like you have to beg for connection. Back home, you walk outside and everyone is greeting you, you know, talking, laughing, telling you stories you don't even want to hear. But here, people can stay in their houses for days. You can live next to someone for a whole year and barely see them. You know, it's not personal. It's not personal at all. It's just how it is. So be ready. Try to build your own little community. some days you'll wake up and miss your country so much, it hurts. You'll miss the food, the noise, the family, even things you used to complain about. That's normal. Cook your food, call your family often, don't lose your culture. It's a big part of surviving in a new place. You just have to get yourself busy. Something else I'd like to talk about is racism. Most people in the UK are polite, yes, but racism still exists. It's not direct and it's not in your face like in America or former South Africa, but it's more hidden and subtle. You might notice small things like people acting surprised you speak good English, people being a bit distant to you, the occasional judging looks. But you just have to stay strong, keep doing your thing, don't let it get into your head. That's just the way life is. Life is never fair. Something else I'd like to talk about is the many bills, the bills and the taxes. In the UK, bills are like subscriptions. They're like subscriptions that you never signed up for. Rent, council tax, electricity, water, internet, TV license. The list is very long. And all these things are things that you have to pay for. Let me have a seat over here. Yeah. These are things that you have to pay for every month. So if you don't plan your money properly, by the middle of the month you'll be checking your fridge like it's a museum. You're looking for old artifacts in your fridge. Budgeting has to be your best friend in this country. And once you get here, after misusing your money several times, you kind of get with the program and you know how to use your money. In my observation, having looked at the tax system in this country, I'm convinced that it's set up to stop people from becoming rich. It's set up in a manner to minimize the disparity between the rich and the poor. All right? Because unlike back in Kenya, where the tax percentage is more standard despite your income, almost like a flat rate. In this country, the more you work and earn, the more you're taxed. And I noticed that in this country, people are not really in a rush to take a lot of work, because the more you seem to work, the more your tax percentage it rises. You earn more, but then you're taxed more. You earn less and you're taxed less. And that's just one of the things that I noticed. But still, moving to the UK is a big step. It's an opening for many opportunities. But it's not always easy for new arrivals. So prepare your mind, stay strong, keep your head up, and you'll be fine. Change is always there. There's always change in whatever you do, but the thing is that you have to learn how to adapt to the change, and make the best of any opportunity. You come to this country, you just have to know that you're a visitor. That's something that you have to know. You have to recognize the fact that it's not your country. You have to recognize the fact that the same way that you'd like to be treated, the same way that you'd like foreigners to behave when they go to your country is kind of the same way that you're supposed to behave when you come to a different country. All right? Like, the thing I've noticed in this country is there's the rule of law. You know, there's the rule of law, and it works. Systems work. You know, here, if there's an emergency, you call the fire brigade, you call the ambulance, you call the police service, and within a few minutes they're there. Nobody's going to tell you, oh, you know, we don't have fuel. Can you send us some money for the fuel? Sometimes the fire brigade shows up and there's no water in the tanks. You know, just some crazy stuff. But here, the systems work, okay? And when you're here, you notice that there's some form of order. As much as crime is everywhere, but you'll find that the crime level is kind of low. People tend to be lawful, all right? So when you come to this country, just stick to the rules and just follow the country's laws, and everything will be fine. Just the same way you'd expect foreigners in your own country to follow the law, and they'll be fine, all right? Here, they've got what we call a DBS. A DBS is basically just like in Kenya, we've got the certificate of good conduct. It's a letter or a certificate that's given by the security services to say that you don't have any criminal background, and you can be trusted in certain types of jobs, and you can be given several different services or opportunities just simply because you don't have a criminal record. And that is what the DBS confirms. So in this country, the DBS is something that's very important, especially if you're an immigrant, all right? Because as a foreigner, there are so many things that if you want to do, they'll ask and do background checks on you just to confirm that you have good behavior. You know, if you want to work in institutions where they deal with children, you know, institutions where they deal with a lot of finances, they need that background check. Sometimes even just getting a house, you'd need a background check. So in this country, what you do is always try your best to avoid certain things, you know, certain situations that might find you dealing with the police and having your DBS tainted, you know. That's some of the things that you have to learn. Also, in this country, there are things that you have to be very careful about. One of them is that you have to be very careful about your interaction with the women in this country. Women have a lot of power in this country. Children, you have to be very, very careful when dealing with children, underage. Children are very, very protected in this country. You also have to be very careful about pets. If you decide to have a pet or someone else's pet, the way you treat pets, you have to be very, very careful. Those three things can easily find you in problems, easily find you jailed. So, in some countries like in Kenya, where we have respect for women, where we care for our children, some of those things are not very hard to abide to. Maybe just about the pets, because, you know, in Africa, we don't look at pets like, we look at pets mostly if they're dogs, like for security. But in this country, pets, they look at them more like members of the family, you know. Here you mistreat a pet, you mistreat an animal, there's this service, a specific service that deals with animals. You can find yourself arrested or find yourself paying a very hefty fine. So some of these differences And also in this country, it's very hard to just find a roaming dog anyway. You can't just find a roaming. Anytime you see a dog, you'll see the owner. It's either most of them are on the leash, and if they're not on the leash, it's a tame dog, it's trained. And so it's very safe to run around without the leash. And that's something also I've noticed here. There are no stray animals. It's very rare to find stray animals. The only animal that you might find at night is the fox. They're just like dogs, but they're small. Those ones, because in this country there's a lot of free space. As much as you might think it's congested, like you might think the whole place is congested, but there's a lot of spaces. There are a lot of spaces that are kind of like just open spaces, like trees and open grasslands and all that, so yeah, that's that. Some of these things you abide by the rules, you adjust, and also something else, when you come to a foreign country, your culture is your culture, yes, but you have to acknowledge the fact that they also have their own culture, and you do not have to agree with everything, all right, but you have to respect. You don't have to agree with them, but you have to respect, because it's their culture. The same way you'd like people to come to your country and respect some of your cultures. You don't have to agree with them. There are a lot of things I don't agree with in this country, but since you decided to come here, you have to respect some of these things, all right? So some of those are things that I wanted to tell you guys that I've observed here in the little time that I've been here, and I just wanted to share them with you guys. Yeah, so today it's all about enjoying the weather, enjoying the sun, and yeah, I guess I'll see you guys on my next video. So you guys can, those who have not subscribed to my channel, you can press on the like button, subscribe. You can put down a message, comment what you think about the differences in our cultures, and hit me up. So I'm enjoying the sunlight. I'll see you guys in my next video. All right, goodbye.